Hey Canucks fans, I don't know about you, but I have a feeling that Thatcher Demko is poised for a massive season. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Monday, November the 30th. This is where you get Canucks insight that's positive and timely. Bit of a windy day here in Vancouver. I'm working from home today on my lunch break, about to pick up one of my kids from school. So thought I would record this vlog really quickly. And before I get to this topic of Thatcher Demko, two really quick things. Number one, don't forget, it's Monday night, so it's my weekly live stream. I hope you join me tonight at 10 p.m. on YouTube to chat Canucks, to talk about the upcoming season, whenever that's going to be. Whatever you want to talk about, make sure you join me at 10 p.m. tonight for my weekly live stream. As well, as I mentioned yesterday, I started bowling, first time in about 3.5 weeks yesterday. It's our one-on-one league head-to-head. I swept the guy I played against. I bowled not bad, 160 average, but you get a handicap. So basically, I was bowling 215. My handicap's 56 pins. So my average was 215, which is pretty good in a league like that. You want to hit at least 200 with your handicap, and I was 215 for the 4 games, each of the games on average. So I bring up my head-to-head record to 14 and 11. Going into last night, I was at 9 and 11, but I took all 5 points. So 14 and 11. I'm halfway through the league now, 5 weeks down, 5 weeks to go. Okay, let's talk about, thank you for asking, for the one person out there who might be interested in that. Thatcher Demko. I'm really excited for him, and I've talked about him a lot on this channel, and I think we'll be talking about him a lot more. And I bring this up because Ian McIntyre of Sportsnet had a really good piece on Thatcher Demko over the weekend out on sportsnet.ca. Now, with Demko, we know that he was a 2014 second-round draft pick. He was drafted 34th overall by the Canucks in 2014, so at the top of the second round. And we know that goaltenders, just like defensemen, a lot of defensemen take a long time to develop. So Thatcher Demko, drafted 6 years ago, and now finally about to get his chance as a starting goaltender in the NHL, which makes sense for most of these goalies. That trajectory, you'll get an exception once in a while, but I think his career trajectory has been pretty darn good. 2014 was also the year that the Canucks drafted Jake Virtanen at number 6, Jared McCann, who's now been traded since then, and also Nikita Tramkin in the 3rd round. So 3 for sure in Virtanen, McCann, and Demko, and then maybe a 4th in Tramkin. 4 NHL players coming out of that one draft class. It's pretty good, even though not all of them are with the Canucks right now. So Demko gets drafted in 2014 after 1 year in Boston College, just 2 more years in Boston College, 3 years in Utica, and then this last season with the Vancouver Canucks. 2 seasons ago, he did get 9 games with the Canucks. And actually, his stats in 2018-2019, when he played 9 games, most of them in Utica, but then 9 games with the Canucks after Anders Nilsson got traded. His stats, actually, his goals against and his save percentage, were actually better 2 seasons ago than they were last season. And remember last season when he got called up in February when Markstrom got hurt? He had a bit of a rough start. He had a poor outing in Ottawa, lost 4-2, I think it was 4-2, or maybe that was the Toronto score. But he basically lost games in Ottawa and Toronto. And in both of those games, he gave up a couple goals in the first 10 minutes. So it wasn't the best start. But then I think he definitely settled down as it got later in that stretch, and I think he ended up going 500. I think he was like 3-2-1 or 3-3 in those 6 games in February and early March, while Markstrom was on the shelf with his knee injury. So Demko gave us a bit of taste of what he was like. The 9 games the previous season, then a few games this season, and then of course he has his remarkable postseason run where he played amazing in Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7 against Vegas. Stood on his head, stood on one leg, stood on the other leg, stood on his elbow, stood on his knee, stood on other body parts. It was just amazing to see. And then it was really a coming out party. And it was really funny when I talk about Demko versus Markstrom. I remember last summer, before the season started, I was saying, oh no, Markstrom and Demko, they're going to retain Demko for sure, and just let Markstrom, they should trade Markstrom to get something during the season. And then I would talk to people and they say, no, it's best to keep them both and kind of see who's doing better at the end of this upcoming season and then make your decision then. And then others were saying, no, if Demko plays well, you can actually play hardball with Markstrom, or it won't be as big of a pain, a loss if Markstrom moves on. Well, we know what happened. Demko has that remarkable playoff run. Markstrom gets more money and more term to play in Calgary. And sure, we would love to recoup an asset for that, but for Markstrom leaving. But now it's solely the future, and the present is solely in Thatcher Demko's hands. I'll talk about Braden Holtby that factor in a second. But Demko, we saw how good he was, and what I really appreciated, and what he talked about in the article with Ian McIntyre, was just how hockey, especially goaltending, is just as much mental as it is physical. And you can have all the physical tools, but if you don't have the right disposition, if you don't have the right mental game, then it can be tough, and it's a very tough position to play. So we saw how well Demko played in those 3 games, and we definitely saw how just how when he's calm, when he's on top of his game, it felt like nothing would beat him. And it might have looked like he was out of position, or Vegas might have been in the middle of a really good cross ice pass or whatever it may be. But Demko just played. He was so calm throughout the entire playoff run. And he's a big guy, right? He's 6'4", 190 pounds. So overall, he takes up a lot of the net. He's an imposing figure. And when he's got his angles going, when he's got his rebounds under control, and when he seems in control overall and calm, you know that Thatcher Demko is at his best. And Vegas, we remember, they're peppering him from all angles, from all areas. But Demko never seemed out of the play. He would always make a quick move or a calm move to get back into the play, even when he had some really talented Vegas shooters trying to score on him. So I was so impressed, and I truly think you could say, yes, that was a small sample size, but I truly think that 3-game audition in the playoffs made Jim Benning and Travis Green and Canucks management feel a lot more comfortable in letting Jacob Markstrom go. Although, of course, as I mentioned, we'd love to have recouped an asset or 2 if we knew that we weren't going to be able to sign Jacob Markstrom. Now, I've said many, many times on this channel that I've heard from a person within the Canucks organization, this is 3 or 4 years ago now, that when they drafted Demko, and as they saw him develop in Utica especially, that they had Luongo-type hopes for him. That is huge. If you arguably Luongo is the best goaltender in Canucks history. Other people like Kirk McLean, but regardless, Luongo is the best or the second best goaltender in Canucks history. I'm going to say he's the best. He's my favorite player of all time for the Canucks. But to put Demko in the same category, in the same breath as Roberto Luongo, that is massive as well. So to pin Luongo-type hopes on a young goalie, that is saying something that speaks to the confidence that the Canucks management had and likely still have in Demko. So and I think he's got the disposition, he's got the right attitude to handle those kind of expectations. Lastly, Braden Holtby, we know we bring him in 2-year contract, backloaded contract, so he might not even get picked up by Vegas in the expansion draft, and that would be fine with us. But Holtby will come in as a mentor with saying all the right things, and we'll be able to spell Demko off right now. So I know I've vlogged about before, it's going to be a 50-50 split. I think it's going to be more like a 55 to 60% for Demko, and then 40 to 45% for Holtby of the games, no matter how many games they end up playing once the NHL and NHLPA get their heads together. So I see Demko getting a tiny bit more than half of the starts, but I think it's great that we have a Vezina Trophy winner, a Stanley Cup winning goaltender to back him up, to spell him off, and to basically split time with Demko in what's going to be a very, very challenging and compressed season. So overall, I'm very excited. I'm bullish. Obviously, I'm very high on Thatcher Demko. I think he can do very well. To me, the sample size is not too small. I think we've seen a taste of what he can do and what he's capable of. And I simply can't wait to see how he performs with the Vancouver Canucks this year. Lastly, we always talk about the core 4 of the Canucks, the 4 young guys of Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, and Quinn Hughes. I moved up from the core 4 to a core 5 now. It doesn't sound as good. High 5 or what, I don't know what you call it. But I would add Thatcher Demko in that list, considering he's in his mid-20s as well, and he's ready to be the goaltender, the number 1 backstopper for our team going forward. I would add JT Miller. I think JT Miller is such an important player, but he's a tiny, not that much older actually than those guys. But so maybe it goes from a core 4 to a high 5 to a 6-pack if you add Miller as well. My point is Demko is going to be a vital part of our success, just as important, of course, as Horvat, Besser, Pettersson, and Hughes. Canucks fans, let me know what you think. I'd love to know your thoughts on Thatcher Demko. What are your expectations for him? Are you as high on him as I am? Leave a comment below. I'd love to know your reasoning why or why not. So leave a comment. I'll read, react, and reply as best I can. Subscribe if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Enjoy the day. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. God bless, and go Canucks go.